Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, June 14th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The following is this evening's agenda. First, we will do roll call and disclosure of conflict of interest.
Eugene Bartu.
Here, and I did view the site.
Crystal Chanda.
Here, I will be recusing myself from the approval of minutes because I was not at the last week's meeting. Nothing else to disclose, sorry.
Whitney Fenwick.
Here, and same thing as Crystal, I was not at the last meeting and I'll recuse myself from that.
Marjana Hewlett.
Here, and I have nothing to disclose.
Roger Frey, sorry.
Here, I have nothing to disclose.
Richard Phillips.
Here with nothing to disclose.
And Shin Kyu Ryu.
Here, and I have nothing to disclose.
Agenda item number 2 is the approval of the minutes. The commission may wish to waive the oral reading of the May 10th, 2023 P&Z clarification and meeting minutes and to approve the minutes as written.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Does our motion have to include waiving? Okay.
I'll
I
second that motion.
I second it.
We have a motion by Phillips and a second by Q. Will you please call vote?
Phillips.
Yes.
Ryu.
Yes.
Bartu.
Yep.
Yes.
Hewlett.
Yes.
Thank you. We will now move on to agenda item number 3, which is a public hearing comprehensive plan 2040, future land use map. This time has been set aside for the commission to hear comments from the public and to make a recommendation to city council regarding Pocatello comprehensive plan 2040 future land use map. So the public hearing will go, the applicant will present, and then there will be time for public testimony. Those presenting or testifying will state your name for the record. You will give testimony, questions, and comments will be pertinent to the application and should only be addressed to the commission. During the public hearing, there should be no questions, comments, or applause from the audience. And should the meeting go longer than 8 o'clock, the commission will take a scheduled 10-minute break. Commission members will make their decisions regarding the application on facts already in the record and information presented during the hearing. At this time, I declare the public hearing open, and I would like to invite staff forward.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. Jim Anglesey, Long Range Planner for the City of Pocatello. The request before you tonight is an amendment to the proposed future land use map for the comprehensive plan near the intersection of Hildreth Road and Southwick Avenue. The amendment proposes to designate the subject properties to commercial and mixed use where it was previously proposed to be industrial, mixed use, and residential. And we have provided maps for you in your packet to see those proposed changes. You will have the current future land use, the proposed future land use within the comprehensive plan, and the amendments that are being suggested. Property owners approach planning staff regarding desired changes to the future land use map. And as a result, planning staff worked with property owners to propose a change to the map, as you see in your packet. And so what's changing is mainly just what's around Century High School, including a majority of it being owned by Katselides, members of the Katselides family, with some surrounding properties as well, not owned by the Katselides. After notification of the public hearing, one of the property owners called to request an adjustment to this amendment for the extension of the commercial designation on the north end of the parcel number.
Sorry, Jim. Do you guys want to step out in the hall and discuss that, please? Thank you. Okay, sorry.
The extension of commercial designation on the north end of parcel number ending in 301-2908 as shown in attachment D. The commission may consider all of these changes as part of your review and recommendation. Notice of this public hearing was published in accordance to city and state requirements. And as of prior to this meeting, we haven't received any written comments from the public for this public hearing. This ends my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Commission, any questions for staff?
So I have a question. So if we were to make a motion, it would be to approve attachment D that has this change to that little corner there. As near as I can tell, that's the only real change of it, right?
So attachment C is also before you tonight.
Okay,
What's
so it'd have to be both?
What you've currently recommended to council is attachment B,
Okay,
which doesn't have a commercial component.
okay.
And the new amendment is attachment C with the attachment D as potential change in the designation as well.
I should write that down.
Got it. Any other questions for staff?
I have a question. So for clarification today, so we're deciding whether it's going to be attachment B, C, or D.
Correct.
Okay.
Or C and D, if you choose. Attachment B is what has currently been proposed and have come to you at a prior hearing.
Okay,
And C and D is what is newly proposed.
Okay, thank you.
so that's a pretty significant change from, to commercial around that. Can you speak to the thinking for making that? Because that's a fairly significant change. We didn't have, we had mixed use, so it would have had a little bit of that in it, but that's pretty significant to have it zoned just commercial. So no residential allowed in the area.
If it was to be zoned commercial, you would still be able to have a residential component,
Okay,
so long as properties maintain storefront use.
okay,
And so
okay.
you could have a mixed-use building, you could have mixed-use properties, so long as there was a commercial component as part
component
of
to
that
it.
property.
Okay,
And so with this configuration, you could still have residential with commercial. The thinking is being able to have commercial to serve not only the students at Century High. Being a graduate from Century High School, I know that it'd be nice to have a restaurant down that area.
something, yeah.
Or something. But the idea is to serve the south side of the valley
Okay.
with commercial use. Our original one, we had mixed use and industrial because we weren't sure
What would go?
what the possibility would be, how it would go.
Okay,
But with the request of property owners having a desire for commercial uses down there,
okay.
we figured that we would see if the commission would agree with that.
We don't, we don't have a lot of open commercial properties in general in the city. Most of it's pretty developed out, so.
Yeah, commercial is very limited
Yeah.
in the city.
Okay. I was thinking that was what I remembered.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you. So just a reminder before we start the public hearing, when you come to give your testimony, please state your name. Remember to only address the commission, not the audience. You'll have 3 minutes and then you will be asked to stop. Make sure you keep your questions and comments pertinent to the application. And then please don't duplicate questions or concerns or comments covered by previous testimony. So at this time, I would like to invite anybody providing testimony in support of the application to come forward.
Hello.
Hi.
My name's Camille Delkey and I live out here on the road. So I was looking at these maps and like the commercial part doesn't bother me, because we kind of do need a few things for the students. I have kids and they're going to be going to Century starting next year. So that part doesn't bother me, but I do like the idea of them leaving it open up around the Katsalamedes Road, because if we put like housing back there, it's really going to affect the landscaping out there. And we just bought our house. So just kind of curious, like what they had planned, if it was going to be more kid-friendly type stuff, like he was talking about like the high school, which would be cool for them to be able to expand for the kids.
I think it's a matter of who owns the property and what they plan to do with it, as long as it's within the planning and zoning requirements.
Okay, and then they were planning on making the big area out behind, like my place, all open, so they can do whatever they want with it, or?
And I can let Jim answer this after everybody's done, because he'll be it, but it means nothing can be done with it,
Okay.
pretty much.
I'm cool with that. All right, other than that, that's pretty much just what I wanted to kind of say, is I'm cool with the idea of them building out there, and I would really like the area just to stay open.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening. Madam Chairman, board members, appreciate you having us over here tonight, and appreciate you looking at this proposed change in zoning. You can't hear?
What's your name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name's
I was
Tom.
going to let you finish thanking us, and then I was going to tell you.
I'm just trying to be friendly. My name's Tom Katsalamedes. I'm presently the state tax commissioner, which doesn't mean anything to this, except to oversee the property taxes for the state of Idaho, which has been a big deal. And we finally got that resolved with a new bill that just passed last year. So we'll see how it works out. At any rate, I wanted to thank you for having this. And I represent myself and my sister Rita and some of my other family members. And we have approximately 100 acres right there alongside South Fifth. And so we'd like to express our desire to have the property rezoned to commercial from multiple use. And there are some areas in back there that I've got a little 12 acre or 11 and a half acre piece up there near that water tower that I plan to develop eventually into some houses back there also. But that's down the road. And this thing is helpful because our thought is that eventually we would hook in to an annexation with the city and have that property annexed into the city. And that's because that whole thing out there was when it was brought into the city, meaning the school, Western States equipment, and that whole area out there in between the freeway and South Fifth was kind of on a shoestring type annexation. Yeah. Everything east of South Fifth was still in the county. And so we're at the point now where we think it'd be advantageous to the city, to the area, to have that developed, turned into commercial, so we could eventually develop that area into a area that had some, I don't know who was saying it, but some kind of stores, things like that out there. And there isn't much left of areas in Pocatello we can do that with, because that's just the way it is. So anyway, that's my comments, and I'd stand for any questions if you have any questions anybody'd like to ask. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in support? Anyone uncommitted?
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the council. My name's Hal Jensen, Planning Director with Bannock County. I intended to get something written and sent to you, but because of schedules in our office and vacations, I've been going many different directions, and so I chose to come tonight. I wanted to just share some information with you relative to history that's been taking place so that you understand what's currently under zone with the county and what we've been working with Merrill Quail with development with what's taking place along the South Fifth Corridor. Currently, we are zoned multi-use, commercial general, and residential, suburban and residential rural. We have 7 different subdivisions that currently are in place and taking place. And we anticipate that the South Fifth Corridor will be annexed probably within the next 3 years, if not sooner. We've been working closely with engineering on where that jump occurs from the west side across I-15 and then eventually to South Fifth. You should be aware that the majority of new development, if not all, that we have worked in the last 4 years have all connected to city water and sewer and now have annexation agreements in place. We don't have an opinion one way or the other. I wanted to share with you that the general overall vision of the South Fifth Corridor, as you have it proposed, regardless of how it stands or whether you move it forward, is basically the direction that Bannock County has been working with developers to develop the South Fifth Corridor. So be aware that on the south end, on the west side, just to the south of the Electricians Brotherhood Training Facility, we completed, I believe, 2 years ago, a commercial subdivision there. We are in the process of getting ready for a final plat on a commercial subdivision just to the south side of the Bannock County Jail. We have had conversations with, on a quarterly basis, county planning, county commissioners, engineering and planning meet to discuss items as we blend the edge, more specifically along the South Fifth Corridor. The commission has given the city their full support that when the annexation jump does occur, that the road and bridge facility will be annexed, the Bannock County Jail will be annexed. We have a subdivision that is taking place, I believe it was 2 years ago. The governor announced X number of dollars for a facility for reintroduction of offenders, and that has now received its conditional use permit and is now moving forward as well.
That's time. Thank you
just so
so
that
much.
you know-
We appreciate it.
That's the direction that we are, and we're
Got it. Thank you.
pretty aligned.
Thank you.
Frank Newting, 6346 Old Ranch Road, Pocatello. I work with Gary Ratliff, who owns some property that the old Southern Hills subdivision that was done years ago and sold a couple times, but it was all platted. And so he's got 7 acres that was platted as commercial. And on this new change, it shows it as residential. So the question is that change in the future plan, or is it staying what it was platted? It's probably a question for these guys. So,
It's a good thing to bring up, though, something I
Right.
think we should know. So we'll wait to the end and we'll let Jim address that, but
you bet.
anybody else uncommitted? No? Any opposed? All right. With that, I would like to invite the Jim back up to answer commission questions.
I can answer one of the questions regarding some of the land uses on the upper side of that hill. What you see in green is what would be considered open space designation. And the majority of that has been conveyed in a land trust. And so some of, or not all of that is conveyed in a land trust, which would mean that it would not be developed, regardless of its designation. And then property that Mr. Newting had suggested, just north of what's been proposed here for this commercial, it is currently in attachment A, commercial. You see that little strip of commercial with residential up above.
Oh, yeah.
Is now just north of what's being proposed tonight as mixed use along South Fifth and residential up above.
So is it off of our map? Is it on our map?
This section here.
Well, is this section here, or where is it on here?
It changes.
It's changed from commercial to mixed
Commercial
use and
to mixed
residential.
use, okay.
Tonight, we're,
Yes, got it.
is just the commercial area that you see on the map.
So what happens if it was,
Zoned commercial, and platted commercial.
well, here's my question. Zoned and platted is different than they have a whole subdivision done and approved and it hasn't expired. So of your knowledge, is there, it's,
So this comes back to the difference between a designation and a zone. That little strip of commercial will remain commercially zoned, but the designation is changing. And so it would be, after this, if it were to be approved, could be rezoned as RCP and residential. If the property owner so choose, or remain commercial if they already had plans to
Already
do
grandfathered
commercial
in.
development.
thank you.
Gives them more options.
Okay,
So it
gives
gives you
them
an
more
option to rezone to align with the future land use map.
Okay.
Any other questions, Commission, for staff?
yeah.
Yeah,
In that commercial part on the east side of Fifth, there is one or two residences there, isn't there? That fall in the red?
There currently is. Most of the individuals that own those properties were the ones that requested the commercial designation.
They have no objection then.
Yep. There are property owners in there that we sent out notices and they, to my knowledge, haven't given any comment on it.
I'd be more concerned about those that are residences rather than someone with a bare land, you know?
If they chose to remain there, that's not even in the city currently. And so they would still have to be annexed and then they would receive a zone. If they chose not to annex, or they're not using city services, they could remain in the county and remain under their zoning.
Okay. One more little question. Why is that little mixed-use square up there by the green? Why is it taken out? I mean, why is it together? Is there a reason? Somebody wants to use it for something and they ask to keep it out of the commercial, or? I mean, you specifically eliminated it out of the commercial. I just wondered if there was a reason for that.
So that was what you see on attachment D. If you see the differences between attachment C and attachment D, there was a little bit more mixed use. And then the property owner that owns this parcel change in attachment D suggested that it be commercial. And so what's left is the remaining parcels that did not request a change in their designation.
On, attachment C and attachment D, I mean, you're landlocking that little portion. I mean, where in C, you got the mixed use carries on a little further into the residential.
So indeed, the mixed use would still serve its purpose as a transition. In this case, it would be a transition from commercial to open space.
Right, I see that.
any other questions? No, with that, I would entertain a motion.
So I'll make a motion. So I move to recommend approval of Pocatello Comprehensive Plan 2040 future land use map as proposed in attachment D, and to authorize the chair to sign the findings of the fact.
Second.
I just want to clarify,
Do we have to include C? in
I
that?
think we need to do C is land use, D is designation. So are you only wanting to do the designation and not the land use, or do you want to do both?
It's just, they're both designations.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, so that's, okay,
So D would be fine.
yes, okay. So we have a motion by Q and a second by Phillips, is that, I'm sorry. Well, will you call vote, please? Oh, yeah, public hearing closed, thank you. It's like I've been gone for a while. so.
We haven't had a meeting in a while.
Phillips,
Yes.
Rube,
Yes.
Bartu,
Yes.
Shanda,
Yes,
Benwick,
Yes.
Frey,
Yes.
Hewlett.
Yes.
all right, and with that, our planning and zoning meeting is done. Thank you, everyone, for coming.